Good day, Dr. Kapi, and welcome to our presentation. Our group consists of David, Dookoo, Joel, Fanan, Samantha, Mark, and myself, Kyiesha Lewis, and we will be looking at boats through the ages. These ages consist of the Paleolithic Age, Neolithic Age, the Iron Age, and the Bronze Age. So to start things off, I will be looking at the Paleolithic Age. The Paleolithic Age, or the Stone Age, showed the first existence of a boat being the dugout. It was sailed around 10,000 BC and it's typically native to Europe, though we have seen the dugout boat being in existence in other places like China and Egypt. Now, how this boat was constructed was actually kind of cool. So they would take a log and quite literally dig it out. So I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail in where that was concerned. So when they take the log to construct it, the top was sliced and marked on the sides and was pre-cut with a chisel and measured with a wire. Then the wooden sections of the slice were then cut into a V shape with the aders and then removed using wooden corners typed to the ground or with corners of deer wood. The trunk was then hollowed out, ensuring optimum thickness using an arc instrument. And then we have the burning finishes, which eliminated splinters and treated the wood naturally against things like pests. You would also have for waterproofing, you will have hot beeswax of vegetable fibers on the cracks. That's to ensure that there's no seepage of water, like I said, for waterproofing. And the lower part was generally thicker than the central part of the stern and bow to prevent the wood from splitting on drying. Now, all that means to say is that using certain tools like deer bones, what they would do is take a piece of a log and chisel out the inside and literally dig it out, hence the name the dugout. Now, the technology that was used, like I previously listed, was the burning for the pest control and the waterproofing using the hot beeswax of vegetable fibers. And their advances, since it was the first boat, they wouldn't have had much technological advances, but something that was pretty cool was that the lower part, as mentioned before, was thicker than the central part of the stern and the bow to prevent the wood from splitting and drying. The materials that they would use for it would typically be soft wood. They would use soft wood to make it easier to do that dig out process, right? They will also use flint aders, corners, masses, wood sticks, and bones of deers. And they will also have flint lighter with tinder. So they'll have like a flint lighter with a tinder that will be used for the burning of the wood for pest control. It was typically used to travel in inland waterways, so things like rivers and lakes, and right around the coastal area. So they wouldn't stray too far off the coast. They would stay where the waters were calm. And it was used for things like fishing or transportation through different villages. The design, however, for the bow, it was pointed and the stern had a half circular bulkhead. There were about 6 to 7 meters in length, so it would typically hold up to around 4 people. It was not a boat that was meant to hold much people. Maybe one passenger might be in it, or you may have around 4 passengers would be in it. If cracks were developed, they would actually patch them with pitch or sew them together, which is actually really cool. So now that we know a little bit about the history of the first boat, now let's move on to the second boat, which would be a boat from the Neolithic Age.
Okay, so for the Neolithic Age, I created a model of the Mesopotamian reed boat, so which you can see in the second boat below me. This model is made using toothpicks, pallet sticks, as well as cardboard. So this would have represent the materials used in the boat's construction. The Neolithic period, also known as the last age of the Stone Age, is known for key innovations like polished stone tools, cereal cultivation, animal domestication, as well as advancements in agriculture and architecture. So the Mesopotamian reed boats would have dated back to around 5500 BCE. This is during the Ubaid culture. So these small masted boats are among the earliest known examples of sailing ships, in addition to Kyiesha's boat that she would have mentioned before. They were used for trade between regions such as northern Egypt and the Persian Gulf. So moving on to the technology and materials, in terms of the construction and craftsmanship, the technology would have relied on advanced basket weaving. So this would have demonstrated early engineering skills. So basically what they would have done was they would have collected reeds, and these were stuff that they could bundle together tightly and waterproof them with a natural tar substance like bitumen. So this would have been a way to get a more durable structure. As well as in the design, you could see below, they were canoe shaped with a upturned and often decorated tip, like as in mine. So it's like this. Alright, so some would have also had masts and sails for wind powered propulsion. In terms of the suitability and function, the reed boats were designed for calm rivers and short to medium distance travel. So the reeds, as mentioned before, they were lightweight, buoyant, and abundant. So this would have made them an effective renewable material. In terms of the bitumen, the waterproofing would have extended the boat's lifespan in hot, dry climates. So these boats were obviously ideal for trade, fishing, and transport. So even though they would have had limitations in load capacity, their durability in more rougher waters, and speed. In terms of the design variants, the one I did was a smaller boat. So this would have held 1 to 2 people or light cargo like fishing gear. Then we would have the medium boat, so this would have carried about 3 to 5 people roughly, dependent or moderate goods such as like grain or pottery. Then we would have the larger boats, so these were designed for trade as well. So they would hold around 8 to 10 people or larger cargo. So this would have included in textiles and ceramics. In terms of the archaeological evidence, firstly they would have found the bitumen residues, so fragments with reed impressions. This would have come from waterproofing techniques and the reed bundling methods, which I mentioned before. In terms of another example found was art and seals. So artifacts such as the Wakavasa ship, they would have found impressions as well that depict reed boats. So this would have showed their design, uses, and roles in trade and ceremonies at the time. And in terms of the contributions to history, the study of these reed boats would have highlighted early boat building innovation, trade networks, and problem solving skills in ancient societies. So these boats would have also reflect how early civilizations would have adapted to their environments and advanced transportation technology. So basically this concludes my part. I'll now hand it over to my colleague to continue.
The Nidon boat is a Danish vessel from the Iron Age. It is one of the oldest known rowing vessels in northern Europe. The technology used was mainly their weapons, like swords and shields. The technological advances that they had was a stern oar rigged to the starboard side of the ship, which allowed for easy maneuver when having to turn. The materials used was mainly oak wood, iron nails, and rope. in which the boat was chronically dated to 310 to 320 AD and is the oldest preserved early dramatic deep-sea rowing ship, in which the model we made to recreate it used wooden sticks and cardboard. The ship had a round underwater section, which gave it more stability as well as kept more water out of the boat at high speeds. The design for the boat was an unusual build for an early boat like this, in which the length of the boat was 23 meters long, with its beam being 3.5 meters wide. Its height midship was 1 meter and weighed over 3 tons. It's made entirely in wood with metal fittings. The hull is a clicker-type build, and the overlapping planks are fastened with metal pins. The hull shape is double-ended and steeply raised at bow and stern. There are 14 thwarts in which they are removable. There are 19 V-shaped frames which are lashed to the carved cleats on the interior surface of the planks. There is a provision for a mast in the bottom of the boat in the middle of the ship. Between the thwarts on the port and starboard stakes there is a provision for 28 oars. Boats of this type presumably served military purposes rather than the transport of goods. When it came to its limitations and advantages, I couldn't really find any limitations besides the fact that the ship didn't seem to be able to do longer journeys, but more seemed to be a coastal type of ship. When it came to its advantages, it can go up to a relatively high speed, about 8 knots, without the use of sails. It can maneuver in narrow bays and has a relatively large crew, which made the vessel suitable for swift ventures along hostile coasts. The ship is capable of holding around 45 men, which made it better when invading enemy coasts. For its archaeological evidence, on the day August 17, 1863, Conrad Elgenhardt discovered the Nylon boat. It was found in the Nylon Moose, which was used as a sacrificial deposit for weapons and ships of vanquished armies that were offered to the indigenous gods in thanks for victory over the fallen enemy. The Nylon Moose, also known as the Nylon Bog, is an archaeological site located at Ostrostraton, a town located in Sandeklev, 8 kilometers from Skanderborg, Denmark. When it came to its contribution to the field, the first longship can be traced back to their origin between 500 and 300 BC. When the Danish hot spring boat was built, it was fastened with cord, not nail, and paddled, not rowed. It had a round cross-section, and although it was 20 meters long, it was only 2 meters wide. The shape suggests mainly river use. Unlike later boats, it had a long bow and stern. A distinguishing feature is the two-pronged cutaway bow section. The earliest rowed true longship that has been found is the Nydam ship, built in Denmark around 350 AD. The differences between the Denmark ship and the more famous Viking longships are that it has a keel plank rather than a fully developed keel as seen in the Viking ships. A keel is important to offset the height of the mast. A next specific example of a longship was the Shotton longship. It is about 27 meters long and 4.5 meters wide. It was built about 625 AD and is associated with the Saxons. The ship was similar in hull section to the Nydam ship with flared topsides. I'll now pass you on to Samantha Mark.
Hi, my name is Samantha Mark, and my part is the Bronze Age, well, the Bronze Age in Europe. So the Bronze Age in Europe from around 300, from 300 BC to 700 BC was a time of major technical and cultural development. It is often called a part of the Metal Ages because of the widespread use of bronze. Bronze is a mixture of copper and tin for making tools, weapons, and everyday materials. During this period, different cultures emerged like the Belgica culture, which helped shape early European societies. One of the key innovations of the Bronze Age was the plank boat. These boats replaced the earlier longboats and were built using wooden planks, fastened together and sealed with materials such as moss. The demand for tin and copper to create bronze led to the growth of trade networks, and these boats were ideal for traveling across rivers and coasts to transport goods. Plank boats were designed for both stability and speed, typically ranging from 10 meters to 20 meters long, and could carry up to 10 to 20 people, including crew and cargo. They had a central keel for stability and rowing benches for efficient movements. While they were great for short and medium distances, their range was limited by human power. They require a lot of rowers to travel, basically. These boats played a major part in trade and communication between different European societies. Moving on, archaeological discoveries like the Dover Bronze Age boat and the Ferriby boats show how advanced boat building techniques were at the time. These boats highlight the importance of maritime trade, allowing early Europeans to exchange resources, ideas, and culture across the vast distances. In short, Bronze Age boats were not just tools for travel, but were also key for economic and cultural growth of the early European societies.